I think that bringing other people into the issue of the jealousy is the best thing to embarrass the overly jealous person out of it. Because when they're in their head, they're imagining all these scenarios.
My husband or my wife has trust issues, does not trust me, never done anything, but he or she's constantly questioning me. Where am I going? Why have I been gone too long? It's exhausting, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, okay, about this issue of jealousy, let me tell you guys something random about an Old Testament passage you probably noticed, but maybe you forgot about. So there's this bitter water test in the Old Testament, and it's like, hey, husband gets the spirit of jealousy. He's really jealous of his wife. He can come before and gather the people, and there'll be the priest there and everything, and he can accuse his wife. I think she's been sleeping with the mailman or whatever it is, right? Whatever he's accusing her of, they write down a curse then. Hey, if you are violating these things, they give her a chance to confess, right? She doesn't confess. They write down this stuff on a papyrus, and then they scrape the ink off into water. She drinks it. And the test goes like this. If she's guilty, then she'll basically lose the ability to have kids. Like her womb will like have issues. And if she's innocent, nothing will happen. Now, what people often do is the modern feminist reading of this passage is very different than what it really was. But what they tend to do with it is they tend to miss the result of the husband. If a husband in this case publicly accuses his wife of cheating, there is proof that she's innocent. Just so you know, a little bit of ink scraped off into water doesn't cause her any harm. Unless God supernaturally does something to her, nothing happens. So she's publicly vindicated in front of the entire community that her husband is a paranoid jerk. I want you to imagine the impact. Hey, Jeff, aren't you that guy? Aren't you that guy that drug your wife out and accused her of all those things? Now, here's the problem in modern settings, in this setting here is, your husband, it seems, I'll take the question as it is, has been wrong 150 million times.
Right.
Where'd you go? Who'd you talk to? I'm jealous. How long were you there? Show me the receipt. I want to see the timestamp on the receipt. You say you went to the gas station? Really? I want to see that too. And the husband's been wrong a million times, but he's never been exposed for being wrong. And so jealousy can be proper and good, but in this case it's bad, and there's no embarrassment for him.
Okay.
And I think that I know this is weird. You guys are like, he's talking crazy stuff right now. I think that bringing other people into the issue of the jealousy is the best thing to embarrass the overly jealous person out of it. Because when they're in their head, they're imagining all these scenarios.
Right.
They're imagining all these things, right? And it may be that he's smoking too much pot. Mm-hmm. That makes you paranoid, right? It's not just the most wonderful medical thing we've ever discovered. I've seen this in a marriage where it was the overuse of pot that made him super jealous and paranoid about the spouse. All that stuff can happen. And so I think that's ideally get counsel. Get counsel from others. Try the approach of explaining that when the jealous person has false positives, when he says, I think you did this and you didn't, that he wronged the spouse. Like you were wronged. This suspicion's not okay if it's wrong. Now, if you're right, hey, you're just smart or whatever. You figured it out. But if you were wrong, who'd you talk to? Why'd you talk? You have to realize, like, this is wrong. Like, you hurt them. You brought distrust and disbelief and a breaking of the security of the relationship, and you thought you could only secure it back with paranoid questions, and it was never necessary. So I think that we have to see those are false positives. It doesn't mean that it'll fix it. I mean, you can't necessarily fix people, but I would say when you're jealous of me and you're wrong, that wounds and hurts me. I would want to tell them that and let them sit with that. When you suspected that I was cheating on you with so-and-so and nothing was happening, that really hurt me because you challenged my faithfulness in our marriage. Mm-hmm. Right? You think you're protecting yourself, but you're protecting yourself by hurting me. And that, I think, is actually really important. This is why I say he's being a jerk.
Yeah.
So as a Christian, what you can do is you don't go before all the people, but you can bring in 2 or 3 people. And maybe if you don't have access to the church, if it's a non-believer, you bring in some family members, some people you guys trust, and say, hey, can you guys help us with this? I understand, like, I'm his, and if I'm doing sketchy things, he has a right, but maybe you could help us bring some balance into this because it's hurting us. Asking questions like, why are you jealous of me? And if you have false positives, are there past betrayals in your past that we could talk about? And then maybe you're treating me like that person. So you're treating me like I hurt you the way someone else did. I never did that. Or maybe your own unfaithfulness. A lot of times the paranoid spouse is cheating.
That's an interesting.
I'm not saying you should become paranoid about it. I'm just saying it's one possible scenario. Paranoid spouses are sometimes they're very controlling because they're cheating. That's why, of course, you'll cheat too.
Right.
Because I do that. And of course, I've done domestic violence counseling, so I've dealt with some pretty unhealthy marriages, so I'm speaking from that experience.
Yeah. Yeah.